Hi, everyone, and welcome to Leo practice number two. This is called Channel the Lion, and it's actually a really straightforward kind of practice. And this is designed to help replenish your energy. So, this is the one to use if your nervous system's not too bad, you're not needing a lot of soothing, but you're really exhausted and depleted. And the reason I've called it this is I really want us to look at lion behavior for a moment. Because we have a very interesting perspective on how lions operate. So, pride of lions will get food by hunting, and we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of the fact that lionesses, for the pride of lions, lionesses do the bulk of the hunting, and the lion just gets to lie around and eat. Because there are groups of young male lions who don't have their own pride who do hunt. So we're not going to kind of go down the David Attenborough route. We're just thinking generally of lions. They get food by hunting, and that is hard work. It is really hard to bring down whatever animal it is that you need in order to feed yourself and your cubs and the rest of the pride. They get to eat very protein rich food, which they find absolutely delicious, I'm sure. And they rest and play to recover from the hard work of hunting and digesting. That's how we think of lion. If you're ever watching a documentary about lions, that's the way it's presented to us. We do the hard work, we get the food, and then we rest and recover to after the hard work of hunting and digesting, we lie around. I want to challenge that framework. I want to ask, what is it? What if it is, first of all, we rest and play in order to prepare, in order to build up our reserves. Then we use our energy to go and get food, which is hard work by hunting. And then we get to eat the protein rich food. Yum, if you're a lion. So I really like this idea that the resting and the playing and the preparation comes first. That's the priority. It is not something we do in order to sort of flop down after something hard and then go, oh, thank God that's over. Now I can have some rest. Instead, it's a conscious, deliberate thing we do because we're gearing ourselves up for the thing we know is going to require our energy. And I think that's a very different tactic to apply. So I'm willing to bet that you already know how to do the hard work bit and the the equivalent of eating your food bit, which is, where you get to eat your food, literally the food on the table and pay the bills. The piece that we are not good at, especially in a capitalist system, is the rest and play piece because we have been so trained to see it as an afterthought, the thing we do afterwards if we have time. So we are going to flip that around for a month. You're only doing this for a month. We're not doing it. I mean, if you want to keep doing it beyond that, go for it, I say. But you're not required to. We're just doing this for now as an experiment. So I want you to start out by ignoring any brain drama that comes up that says this is about being lazy or about being frivolous. And we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to find ways to set yourself up for better rest. And we'll talk about that in detail in a moment. And we're going to pick ways for you to play. And we'll talk about that in a moment too. So the whole point of this is that every day you're going to channel your inner lion. You are going to spend time resting and playing every day. And we're going to structure the day around it, which again, I'll talk about that in a moment. So first of all, what is rest? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we can define what rest is. And you have to pay attention to what it is that your body is needing. What is it that it finds most effective? The general advice is to aim for 8 hours sleep or rest every day. If you don't sleep 8 hours at night, it's fine to have a nap in the afternoon or the early evening or whatever suits you, whenever that energy drain or energy slump happens. Don't stress about interrupted nights. There's a lot of evidence that our medieval, certainly in the medieval European humans, would regularly get up at 2 o'clock in the morning after they'd slept for a bit. They'd get up at 2 o'clock, have a snack, play cards with the neighbours, have a chat with the wife, whatever, and then go back to sleep. So interrupted nights are a fairly modern construct. So if sleep is interrupted, it's not a problem. You might want to do some things to boost your sleep hygiene. So that's things like no screens in the bedroom, no computer or phone screens after 9 p.m. That's one that I need to implement. And having your bedroom quiet and dark and at a comfortable temperature. So we don't want it too hot, don't want it too cold. This is pretty basic stuff. So we're going to ensure that rest is given some priority, and then we're going to include some play. So by play, what I mean is any activity that is purposeless, all-consuming, and fun. There's a wonderful book. Stuart Brown has a Dr. Stuart Brown, who's a play researcher, has done a lot of work around this, including adult play and the impact, the benefits to our brains. So most adults have been trained out of how to play. We often lose touch with it when we grow up. We knew how to play as kids. Most of us did. Not everybody has that. I totally get that. But most adults get trained out of it, thanks to, the Industrial Revolution, when we all had to go into the factories. But play is essential at a neurological level for creativity, problem solving, better processing, lateral thinking, and much higher levels of joy and energy. And it's also like a fast track to growth and expansion. So this is a really good way to replenish our energy. And we have to pay attention to our own preferred play personality, if you like. So when I talk about play, one of the examples that I often come up when people say, well, how do I know if it's play? I love to bake cakes, but that's being productive. So my response to that is knitting because you're obsessed with a new stitch that you've just learned, that's play. Knitting a sweater because you're cold is not play. Baking something because you've just found a recipe you want to try out, that can be play. But baking because your family is hungry, and really you'd rather be doing something else, that's not play. So that's the distinction that we want to make. We can think about our play personality based on what we enjoyed as kids. And this is the list of play personalities that Dr. Brown talks about in his work. There's the joker. This is someone who loves being the class clown and delights in nonsensical play. That's my husband. There's the kinesthete. Now, this is somebody who needs to move and physically play just for the sake of moving. There's the explorer. This is someone who's driven by curiosity. So it's the new experiences, whether it's a physical, mental, emotional, or relational experience that is new, something new. There's the competitor who really thrives on competition and winning and being the best. There's the director who loves organizing and dictating, directing the flow of play within a group. There's the collector who likes to curate their collection, whether it's a collection of experiences or a collection of objects. There's the artist creator who finds joy in making things of all kinds. That's my mum. She's been a crafter all her life, and she loves making things. And there's the storyteller who loves unlocking stories and tapping into the imagination. And that's my favorite play style. Most of us have more than one. And in the PDF, I've given you this list of different play personalities, and then I've given you a page of just examples of resting and playing activities because for some people, an activity can be a resting activity, and for some people, that can be play activity. And it's up to you to kind of figure out. So we want to build this habit of resting and playing in order to channel the lion. And I talked earlier about structuring your day around this. So this is an exercise called the 16-hour day. And the idea is we get 24 hours in every day. Let's assume you're setting aside 8 of them for sleeping and resting. That leaves you 16 hours to play with. And every night, plan out the following day based on this list of priorities. The first priority is any actual appointment you have. Doctor's appointment, client appointment, appointment with your tax accountant, whatever it might be. Actual appointments with another human go in first. The second thing that goes in there is the meal breaks. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, afternoon snack, whatever it is, you carve out those in your diary next. The third thing you put in there is the play. At least 30 minutes of play at some point during the day. The fourth thing that goes in there are any naps or what I call mooching breaks. It's where you just mooch about. You can set aside 30 minutes or an hour to just kind of mooch around and do whatever you feel like in the moment. So the night before, I don't know what I'm going to want to do when I'm mooching, but I'm going to put an hour of mooching in there. And then the last piece that goes in there is anything that where you have a task that needs to be done. And for a little added extra bonus, whatever your task is, we're not going to identify a chunk of time and say give it the task name. So, for example, tax preparation. I'm not going to put in there tax preparation. I'm not going to put in there write a blog post because our brains look at that and look at the time allocated, and then they immediately go, no, I can't get all of that done in that time. That's too much. It's going to be too hard. Even if actually it is plenty of time, our brains will tend to go, oh, it's too hard. So what we describe it as is working on task, whatever it is, working on tax prep, working on writing a post, working on making a list of people to call about whatever it is. So this 16-hour day is it's a really potent way to support the work of channeling the lion, to make sure that that play and rest are not there as an afterthought. They are actually there as the priority, and you build the rest of your 16 hours around that. And but you build the rest of your 24 hours around that. So you've got 8 hours for resting and you have half an hour for play at least. And if you need naps because your 8 hours doesn't all happen in one chunk, then you might have to plan it out in your day in the afternoon. But you can adjust that. This is your 16 hours to play with. This is your 24 hours. And, the 16 hours is the part you're playing with. In the PDF, I have included a tracker if you want to use it. Please don't feel obliged. Some people find tracking useful for this kind of stuff, and some people don't. Some people hate it. The reason that I've included it here is that we are so habituated to deprioritizing rest and play that something like a tracker may be helpful in shoring up this practice because it might feel great for the first 3 days, and then by day 4, it's kind of like your brain goes, I don't understand. This is too hard. I want to go back to the way things were. And before we know it, we're back in the old territory of working hard and then kind of slumping rather than recharging and restocking our batteries and then having enough to do our work. Any questions at all? Feel free to shoot me an email and let me know how you go.